Coach, what was your impression of the team on the first day of practice this year?
First day of practice, we had an excellent off season. Kids really worked extremely hard to get prepared. And after the first day, we as a coaching staff, we thought some real good things were going to come for the Lindenhurst Bulldogs in 2014.
What did you do to get them prepared in the off season?
We actually, after last season, as well been documented, we had a very poor season. We finished 2-6. Came back and we changed every single thing we did. We went to a different workout in the off season. Infinity Performance came in and gave us a pretty nice workout that we followed in the off season. We changed what we did together in the summer. In the summer, we had a pretty strict regiment where we would have different groups work on different days. We changed that around, where we had the whole team come in several days a week as a team. That was a big structure change for us, and we worked more on team as opposed to individuals.
What does that mean, work more on team rather than individual?
Well,
I mean, you hear that a lot.
Yeah,
But what does it mean?
Well, what it means is we would have the linemen come in on one day and work just with linemen, and then we'd have defensive backs and linebackers come in on one day. We had on our work days, Tuesdays and Thursdays, the entire team showed up. So we worked as a team. So we got to know each other, offensive linemen, running backs, wide receivers, quarterbacks, working together from the beginning of June all the way through. And we had a 7-on-7 tournament that was in the middle of June at Connecticut High School. And at that point, as a coaching staff, we thought we had something pretty special.
What did you see in that tournament?
Competitiveness. We wound up, it's a 7-on-7 tournament. So, winning it, losing it isn't all that important. You want to bring out some qualities, find out a little bit about your players, who's going to produce. And we realized that, and we wound up winning that tournament, and our kids really wanted to win. They wanted to win a 7-on-7.
You saw that killer instinct?
We saw something we hadn't seen in a couple years. And it really carried through throughout the entire season, which was so nice to see. It really was.
Now, again, you saw a lot in the preseason, so to speak. Okay, you had some success, almost like in an exhibition season with that 7-on-7 tournament.
Yes.
Now, be truthful with me, Coach. Did you see a county championship team?
I did not know to say I saw the success that we had going forward. No, I would say no. I didn't see that. I saw a quality, competitive team, and I think as the season went on, we just really, as a team, grew more and more comfortable with a trust as a coaching staff and as a group of players. That after the time really went on, we became better because we started to trust each other.
You began to believe in each other.
Absolutely. And that started with trust.
That doesn't happen too often.
No, and it was something special. That trust factor, and I could give you tons of examples on trust, it just really grew and grew and grew as we started to win more games. Even when we started off 1-2, we had a trust, and the kids believed. They really did. They believed in what we were doing, and they followed through. They really did.
Okay. You begin to believe that the team has the mental toughness and the mental confidence, if you will, to certainly be better than a 2-6 team. Physically, I guess you were satisfied with the size, the speed, the agility, and everything like that. Now, as the regular season starts, you start off 1-2, but then all of a sudden you start to take off. At one point, did you think the playoffs were possible, and how did you think you would do in the playoffs?
That's a great question. When you start off 1-2, as a coach, you always have that in the back of your head.
Especially after a 6-2 season, a 2-6 season.
That's correct. You finish 2-6, and it's one of those things where you find ways to lose. Even when you're not a bad team. We were not a bad team last year. We had really good players. We were a good quality football team. We were in every football game just about. We just didn't complete games. So now going forward, you're 1-2, and now you're saying, are we going to follow that same path? And you always have that doubt on your head. And it was, the fourth week of the season after losing to Connecticut, which was at the time the number 1 ranked team in our conference, and we wound up losing 14-10 with an opportunity to win at the end of the game. And our kids really did believe. And now we're playing our next competitor, which happened to be Walt Whitman, and we're playing at their facility, and you still don't know what you're going to get. You're still a little concerned. You wound up winning that game pretty handily, and we demonstrated confidence, and we wound up finishing that game. And at that point, we wound up winning every single game going forward until we lost in the Long Island Championship game.
I have to ask you, as a coach, having been with a team that went 2-6 the year before, having certain expectations from the preseason, knowing in your heart that this team has what it takes to win, what do you say to a team that starts the season 1-2? Any locker room speeches?
That's an interesting question. Several people in the media asked me, pregame speeches, and this was a really well-grounded team.
In what way?
In what way? They weren't we realized as we went forward, they weren't a team that really responded to screaming or yelling, which is needed in football and many sports to motivate players, to get them to do what they're supposed to do and whatnot. But they're a team that if you trust them and you tell them what they're doing wrong, they're going to produce. And many times at halftime we were in close games. We'd find out the adjustments we had to make, and they made it. So as far as motivating, they were a self-motivated group. We told them what they had to do, what they were doing incorrectly, how to fix it, what we thought they needed to do to accomplish what we needed to win a game, and they really did a lot of that stuff themselves.
So what you're telling me, the way I interpret it, is that you had a really intelligent football team in terms of a game sense.
Yeah, you say football. That's interesting. We're not talking academics. We're talking football, and what and a coaching staff. This was our first year, the four of us working together. Four of us as a group, which would be Coach Ron Frohl, Mark Frohl, two Lindenhurst grads, and one's the offensive coordinator. That's Ron Frohl. Then we have Mark Frohl, his first year in the varsity, who did a wonderful job for us, and Damon Sinacropi is our defensive coordinator. So as a foursome, this was our first year working together. And I think that trust that we had with each other as a coaching staff trickled down through the students, through the student athletes, and was evident as we went on.
So you had that chemistry.
Absolutely.
We always talk about chemistry in sports, but you had it.
We had that chemistry. If the quarterback came off, if Coach Frohl called a play, and the quarterback, Ryan Hoffman, wasn't happy with the play or was a little bit uncomfortable, he would kind of give him a look, and Coach Frohl would say, okay, I'll call something else. And it kind of went that way pretty much all year. A comfort level, an honest, a trust, whatever you'd like to call it, that really was really nice to see.
We've talked about the mental approach that your coaching staff and the team brought to the field. Let's talk about a little bit about the X's and O's, and why do you think your team was so successful during the regular season in terms of the X's and O's? Was it an offensive team? Was it a defensive team? Was it a balanced on both sides of the ball? What was it?
Well, that kind of goes to the same point we were talking about before, where we have a bunch of really good players on our team, and offensively, defensively, and our special teams units. In any given game, there was a different unit that stepped up for us. At times, we needed to score points, our offense would score. If we needed to shut teams out, our defense would let up the least points in our conference, which was great, which was awesome. And our special teams, we had 11 block kicks. So adding each particular unit was a great contributor. So at any given time, a different unit would come up big for us. So that was really what made us a great team.
So again, when I try to as a big sports fan, when I try to understand the system that any team brings to the court or to the field, I'm thinking, is their system one in which one or two players dominate, and if they don't play well, the team doesn't play well, or is it a team in which you have many players contribute from game to game? You're telling me that you had a team that was based on teamwork and chemistry, and from game to game, it could be somebody else stepping up.
Absolutely. There's no question. There's players that offensively would catch 5 or 6 passes in a game, and the following week not catch any. It just so happens it didn't go. Maybe the ball didn't get thrown in their direction. There was times where we didn't have a great offensive day, and our defense would shut out another team. So in our championship game, we were lucky. We had good defensive play when needed. We wound up blocking a kick, running it back for a touchdown, and our offense put up a lot of points. So, in each game, a different individual or unit was able to contribute to a victory.
Were there any surprises during the regular season?
Oh, there always are surprises. We had a lot, and
in terms of players,
sure, the players. You always envision a team coming together. The chemistry was one of the biggest and best surprises, I thought. And a certain, we expected a certain level of success with the players we had returning, and some of the other players that came up from our JV, even from our middle school. We had 2 freshmen on the team that were big contributors. That was such a positive to see, and how our seniors took in these freshmen, 14-year-old kids, into our program. It was just those were some of the surprises that you can't really expect.
When the season started, you mentioned Connecticut. Which other teams, or when the playoffs started, I don't think Lindenhurst was the odds-on favorite to win.
Correct.
Which were the teams to beat?
I would say the teams to beat in our conference would be based on the season. It was Longwood, Connecticut. Those were the teams that were pretty dominant throughout the entire year. They were seeded 1 and 2 going into the playoffs. They were 1 and 2. Sachem East was 3, and Lindenhurst was 4. So that was based on the regular season records. So those were the teams, I would say Longwood and Connecticut, based on what they had accomplished throughout the year, their success. They were the 2 squads, definitely. Now,
Lindenhurst was the only one of the top 4 seeds to make it to the Long Island Championship game, right?
That's correct.
And you played Patchogue Medford.
Yes.
Tell me about that game. What game plan did you bring into that?
Patchogue Medford, preseason, we thought was going to be an outstanding football team. They were the preseason number 2 team, Patchogue Medford. They knocked off Longwood, the team I just mentioned to you, and Connecticut. They knocked off the 1 and 2 teams, the teams that we thought would be the teams that would go as furthest. So
they were giant killers.
So they were giant killers, and they have a very talented team. There's no doubt. They have a very large offensive and defensive line. They have some excellent skill players, an excellent quarterback, and we knew that they would be very tough to beat. So we thought we'd have to throw the football to beat them, because we'd have a tough time running against a team like that.
And that's the way the game played out?
It was a back-and-forth game. It was an exciting Suffolk County football game, back and forth, some decent scoring by both teams, well played, and that's pretty much how it went. The entire way. They were up by a touchdown. We came back and scored. So it was definitely a back-and-forth football game.
Now, how did you feel as a coach, having been the head coach of the Lindy Bulldogs for 6 years, when that final gun sounded and the Lindenhurst Bulldogs, coached by Nick Lombardo, are the 2014 Suffolk County champions?
It's funny you say that. As you just said that, I got the chills. It was a great feeling. I've been here for 20 years coaching. Coached with some of my coaches in high school, Coach Biancanello, Coach Rogers, Coach Caravaggio, Canobio, Hayes, a lot of names you may be familiar with that are also Lindenhurst
all graduates. Good Lindy Bulldogs.
That's exactly right, and that's a lot where I learned from. And we were a part of a lot of success. Since I started here in '95, there was a lot of successful teams, a lot of wins, a lot of playoff victories, and to finally be the team that was able to win that Suffolk County Championship, and many of those people were there supporting us, was great. It was a great feeling. I know a lot of them were in the stands, on the sidelines, and they're still Bulldogs and still a part of it. So it was really great. It was wonderful.
You have the high of being Suffolk County champions. The first time a Lindy Bulldog football team won that honor. Now you go into the Long Island Championship. What was the game plan going into that?
Well, a little bit different than Patchogue. We thought we'd be able to run the football a little bit better than we did. So we came out with a game plan to run a little bit more than we did in the Patchogue game, And we actually had a nice drive in the first half that unfortunately we fell short. We fell short on that drive. I think it was on the 20 or 25-yard line of Syosset, and it seemed like they took the wind out of our sails. For whatever reason, we marched right down the field. We started on our own 5-yard line, marched right down the football field, and as soon as they stopped us on a 3rd and 1 and a 4th and 1, it seems like that was kind of, we maybe exhaled, or as a team just lost focus, but we never really recovered. And that's kind of how the game went from there. It was a close game. It was 15-0 at half, and we really never recovered after that. We never did.
What did you take away from this season as a coach?
You know, when you coach in high school, you're working with a lot of student athletes, many of which you have in class, and there's a special bond that I think coaches take out, and that doesn't always have to come with success. Many times it comes with maybe a losing season where you develop a bond with certain athletes, and I think all of us, the entire staff, has taken away that special bond more than anything. A memory. I think when you play and you have a memory like this, and the community of Lindenhurst has been so positive, from the village to the town of Babylon to the Suffolk County, all the way up in the local establishments, from the dinners and the support and T-shirts, and I can name.
This is a team to remember, right?
This is a team to remember. It's just, and it was recognized by the community. Here I am doing this with you, this interview, and it's just another positive thing for the community. It really is. It's just wonderful.